Hello there, guys. This is Christy Lewis from Dostoevsky in Space. Hopefully everything looks okay. I tried a bunch of tests, but things can still go wrong. I'm filming on my new phone. It's the newest Samsung, like the giant one, and I love it. And I don't know if it's better than my camera or not. I feel like sometimes when I take pictures, it is really stunningly amazing. So I wanted to try it, and we'll see how it goes. If there's a problem, just know that it'll probably be different next time. So yeah, if there is a problem. So okay, let's jump into the April wrap up and May TBR. I'm really excited. I haven't actually read like that much this month, but I'm in the middle of a lot of things, so hopefully that means next month will be a big wrap up month. So I'm also going to be wrapping up some other things that I really enjoyed this month, just because, let's be real, I'm not going to ever get around to reviewing K-dramas and music and stuff like that. I'm just going to have to be wrapping it up because even not creating videos this month, I still didn't really get all the writing done that I wanted to do. Not even close. Which probably means if I'd been focusing on videos this month, I wouldn't have finished very many of those either. So it was just a busy month, but mostly good things, not all. There's some things that were not good. There's like a TikTok update that happened that totally ruined my work plans. I can't use their editor anymore. It's just completely terrible. So I'm trying to find a different editor to edit my TikTok videos on, and it takes a bunch of research and yeah. Anyways, so what I have enjoyed this month, I am on like the second to last episode of Chocolate, a K-drama that both Kate Howe and my friend Joanna, who is also a K-drama buddy of mine, both of them, I believe both of them really loved it. I know Kate loved it. I actually forgot to ask Joanna, but I know she's rewatched it, which means she probably didn't hate it. So yeah, it's like a very sweet, like day in the life, no plot, just romantic drama type drama about a woman who is a cook, and she meets this boy when she's a very young girl in the first episode. They're not children for most of the drama, just in the first episode there's a little backstory. She meets this boy who makes her really delicious food when she's really hungry, and he's just like, yeah, just come eat, I don't mind, you don't even have to pay. And his mom owns a restaurant. And she just cries because the food makes her so happy. It's so delicious. And she carries that love of food with her throughout the rest of her life. And she meets that boy as an adult many years later. And he has totally changed. He is very intense and very unhappy and just judges her very negatively when he really shouldn't. And in fact, I did not like the main guy of this drama for most of the drama because he's kind of a jerk to her. I really love one of the side characters in this drama. He's also a side character in Snowdrop, and he was my favorite character in Snowdrop. And I really love the main character of Chocolate. The woman is really wonderful, and all of her food cooking is just, it's wonderful. I love her food cooking. She's such a good cook. I would call it food writing, and the reason I call it food cooking is because you're literally just watching her cook. Like, is that food vlogging? But it's not really vlogging, it's a K-drama. Food drama-ing? I don't know, but regardless, it's really good in that sense, and I love that. Yeah, the side character, what is his name? Did I write it down? He's such an emo boy. I just love him. I included a little clip here for you, just to show you how beautiful he is. I think he's just beautiful, so I would love to watch him do anything. He's just like a beautiful person. Whoa. This K-drama is very swoony, and I definitely have been more emotionally involved in it than in a lot of the K-dramas that I've watched in like the last several months. There's been some that I really got into, like one I really loved the music of, Reborn Rich. I talked about that one. But I had a hard time following the plot of that one, so my emotional investment was somewhat low. And then there's Chiri-san, which is a great like mystery survival kind of drama, which I love this one. I love this one. It's very good. It's not quite it's like a little bit too intense for me, so sometimes I have to take long breaks from it. I can't just like watch it all straight through. Not that I do that anyway. I'm not really a binge watcher at all. It takes me a while to finish things usually. But this drama I've been watching like every waking second. In fact, it's taken me months to finish Jiro-san, and this one has only taken me like, it was very quick. Like I probably started it this month. In fact, loving it and can't wait to finish it up. That I should be finishing that up before the end of the month because I'm on, like I said, episode 15, and I'm at the very end of episode 15. So there's one more episode. There's 16 episodes. Okay, so K-pop of the month. This has been such a month for girl groups, and I'm thinking I'll include a few clips in here because I just love so much of the girl group music that happened this month. Apparently, April is a great month for K-pop. I've heard that some months, like, nobody is coming back in those months, and then some months, like, are packed with comebacks. So I think April must be one of those months that are packed with comebacks. So girl groups, okay, this is not actually a new song at all. In fact, this is a very old song. But I got obsessed with it this month, so I'm going to talk about it now, and that is TT by Twice. Then we have Cupid by 50/50, which has been blowing up. Actually, quite a lot of this song is in English, and it's what you call, I think, easy listening, maybe? Maybe? I could be wrong. But it's very easy to listen to, kind of like New Jeans. If you've heard New Jeans, they also took off because their songs are just easy to listen to. You don't have to hear them multiple times for them to be catchy. They're just like instantly like, wow, I love their vocals. They're angelic, you know? And Cupid by 50/50 is like that, and it is so catchy. And another one, which I had heard of Cupid by 50/50 quite a few times before on TikTok or on Reels because people were just using the music so much. Tashi crying in my room. Kitchen? No, it's Kitsch. Kitsch by IVE. I was like, Kitchen? That must have been an autocorrect. Kitsch by IVE, which I've not listened to IVE at all, but I am obsessed with this song. This is a song that Jenny played in one of her Instagram stories, and ever since she played it, I've been like, that is a catchy song right there. Like, the whole thing is so catchy. Another song, Love Me Like This by NMIX. Love me like this, love me like that, love me like this, love me like that, love me like this. I really like NMIX's sound. It's just, they use like horns and like, they're just interesting. They're the opposite of easy listening. Like, they sound kind of experimental a lot of times, but I really like them. There's 2 songs in particular by them, and they haven't come out with that many songs. It seems like they're kind of going the Blackpink route, which is very few songs, but all like earworm songs, like bangers, hits. That is their strategy, and it's working for me. So Love Me Like This, what a catchy song, and I love the choreography. I'm learning their names because I'm like, okay, yeah, this is gonna be a group I'm following. Thrilled. They're also pretty new. They're like under a year old. I know they're over 6 months now, but they haven't even been around that long, so I'm excited because they're at the beginning of their career. It was a bit of a stressful last week or 2 for me, and so I've been really feeling ITZY again. I always feel ITZY, let's be real. They're amazing. But they are really like a very like self-loving concept. I'm weird, I'm quirky, I know it, and I love that about myself. That's kind of like what their songs are. And normally I don't really need help with that necessarily, but I just had a really stressful month. Listening to them just made me feel like, yeah, just like let out a deep breath. Yeah, I do like myself. We all make mistakes. It's not the end of the world. So yeah, loving ITZY, Dalla Dalla. Which literally means different. Dalla Dalla is different. And Sneakers, which was one of their newest releases. Are both like very much about that. And then like Wannabe, of course. Wannabe is like EDM, my favorite song by them. It's so good. I like EDM. I'm a fan of EDM because I like music that makes me want to dance. And as far as boy groups, Ace, A-C-E, has been just stealing my heart lately. Every single MV of theirs is fantastic. But I would say start with Favorite Boys. Or Goblin. That's what it's called. That's what I would start with if you've never listened to Ace before. So, and another thing that I've been really obsessing over this month, this is also not a book. What is this? This is not a book wrap-up. I'm sorry. I didn't really think about that as much when I was putting this together. I was like, oh yeah, I always include a few things that aren't books, but holy cow, like my first 5 things are not books. Asian Boss. I'm obsessed with Asian Boss. All of their interviews are fascinating. Asian Boss is... I think I first heard of them because they interviewed Yeonmi Park, or maybe because of Bangtan Academy. They recommended Asian Boss to like Korean newbies because they interview lots of Korean people, lots of Japanese people, lots of Chinese people, Asians everywhere, Asian Americans. They have so many interesting interviews. So I just watched one that was called Japan's Fake Family Industry, and apparently in Japan, people are very concerned with what everything looks like, what the optics are to everybody, which is like, yeah, everybody does. But I don't know that we have this in America where we have like a fake family industry. I know we do have like rent a friend things here, so maybe we do, I don't know. But regardless, this rent a family thing industry was like, it's for people who, for example, in one case, somebody's parent was dying and they had been estranged from their parent for a really long time. And so they went to visit their parent in the hospital and they brought along an infant. They rented an infant basically so that they could be like, yeah, this is my daughter. We're going to be very happy. You can let go. Don't worry. Just everything is going to be fine with us. So you don't need to worry. So they could like send off their parent. Well, stuff like that. There was just a bunch of situations that came up where you would want to rent a fake family, which I wouldn't, but you know, some people would because they're just concerned about how it looks or feelings and whatnot. And then there was one that was really powerful called Life as a Comfort Woman. And this was interviewing a Korean woman who had been kidnapped by the Japanese when she was 14, I believe. And she was forced into sexual slavery for the Japanese soldiers in, I think it was World War II, I believe it was, or maybe... yeah, I think it was. Anyways, that was crazy. That was insane hearing her story and super sad, but it was good to know about because I wouldn't have known a lot of the things that she shared. And she's also still, she was at the time, this was like a 4-year-old video, so she was dying of cancer. And so this was like her last effort kind of to get her story out there because Japan had never apologized to her. They said the comfort women knew what was coming and they decided to take it on as a job. They were prostitutes. They were not children kidnapped for this. And she was like, a 14-year-old doesn't think, how can I make money? I'm going to go become a prostitute in Japan. Like, that's not something a 14-year-old would think of. That was her argument. And I was like, you know what? That sounds very real. And I just can't imagine her actually being like, yeah. And she also tried to commit suicide while she was there. And it forever actually damaged her body. The way she did it was like drinking too much hard alcohol, like a whole bottle of it. And it forever damaged her digestion. And so you just know that this was not something she chose. So it was really sad, but fascinating. And I learned a lot from her. So really interesting interviews like that. There was one about why there are so many trans women in Thailand and the #1 hostess and hosts in Japan, which is like you're like paying someone to go out on a date with you, but you can't touch them other than like holding hands, I think was the only thing you could do. So yeah, fascinating stuff. I didn't know a lot of this stuff existed. And then the next thing I want to talk about is Steve Kaufman's YouTube channel, because I ran across him earlier, I believe it was earlier this month. And he talks a lot about having learned a lot of languages, basically through exposure to listening and reading. And he doesn't study grammar much. Like he'll glance through a grammar book once in a while. He might jot down some vocabulary or something, but he doesn't focus on output. And he doesn't focus on learning. He just focuses on listening, like I said, to like starting with easy stuff, but moving pretty quickly onto things that he just finds interesting and would listen to anyway. And he picks up the language through listening and through reading. He'll read anything he can get his hands on if it has like a glossary of words, so that he can be building his vocabulary that way. And it's really fascinating. He's the one who came up with LingQ, which is a website that I guess helps you track your vocab more easily that you're learning, and it'll allow you to get transcripts from like videos and podcasts and things like that if you just pay. So I might try that at some point, because next year I'm going to be working on Japanese with Alana, whom I had like a 2+ hour long Zoom meeting with today. Shout out to Alana. Love you, girl. That was really fun. And I got to meet her sister Rachel, which was fun. And earlier this week, I also got to hang out with Michi, which was really, really nice. Thank you for meeting with me, Michi. I love you too. I love you both. I think the Steve Kaufman method got me really excited, because I was always really concerned with, like, I need to buy grammar books and resources that will lay things out for me, because I'm not really a person who makes connections very easily, I always felt like. But I don't think that's true. I can make connections and I can learn things. I just have to get used to immersing myself completely and not understanding, but sort of picking things up as we go. That's not usually how I like to learn. I like to go slowly and steadily usually. But I think with the case of language learning, I just wasn't developing an ability to speak or call words to mind or listen very easily. And it was always taking me too long to like think of things. It wasn't becoming like a second brain of Korean for me. But I did build up quite a passive vocabulary while I was studying my own way. So now jumping into Steve Kaufman's method of listening a lot and reading a lot, it's actually working really well for me. So that's exciting. I'm doing really well with it. To that point, I listened to a series of 40 podcast episodes that are part of a book called Real Life Conversations for Beginners in Korean. Korean is somewhere in that title. But anyways, it's a Talk to Me in Korean book. And it's not like very exciting content, but you can listen to these natural conversations and pick up a lot of like commonly used vocabulary, and you just start getting used to the sound of the language. And so I loved listening to these podcasts. I mean, I actually didn't love listening to these podcasts. It's kind of annoying. There's music at the beginning and music at the end, and each episode is like 2 minutes. And so I would have to keep replaying the episode and try to like avoid the annoying bits at the beginning and end. It was kind of annoying. But, and I also really, this is something different from Steve. I will pause what I'm listening to and use Papago, their voice, their microphone portion of their app, to try and imitate what I'm hearing. And that is how I pick up vocabulary from listening. And I don't think Steve does that. He just listens and doesn't try to pick things up from audio. He picks things up while he's reading, but I have less time for reading. So, he's a grandpa. He doesn't have a job. So, but yeah, his method has been really helpful, and it's really supercharged my learning, I think. And I'll talk about some of the other podcasts that I've been listening to down below, but Real Life Korean Conversations for Beginners or something like that. That was a great podcast for learning, and I would highly recommend it. I'll probably still go back and listen to a lot of them over and over and over again, because I didn't catch all of the words that I want to. And I might also try to order the book for my library, because then I can actually read the dialogues. He also recommends reading things that you're listening to, and then listening to them over and over again, and just doing lots of review. And that's a problem that I've run across with language learning, is frequently the things that I want to listen to are not available for reading unless you pay. Like podcasts, you don't actually get access to the podcast transcripts of like Talk to Me in Korean podcasts, for example, unless you pay for them, which I might do at some point. Sometimes they have really good sales, like $61 for their whole website for a year, which is like insanely good. So at some point I'm probably going to do that, because that's a really good deal. But for the time being, I'm really just excited because I'm getting into Bangtan Academy next month. On May 2nd, I will get more information about my entry into Bangtan Academy, and that is a free academy for lovers of BTS who want to learn Korean. And yeah, I'm super excited. I've been on the waiting list for this for months and months and months. And in fact, the application process is so complicated that I've messed it up like multiple times, and that's why I'm just now getting into it. So I'm excited to finally be getting in there. I think it's going to be a big time commitment though. So anyways, okay, and the actual book that I finished this month, wow, I finished a book. Real Life Conversations for Beginners is a book, but I didn't read everything because I don't actually have the book. I was just listening to their podcast versions. So The Case Against the Sexual Revolution by Louise Perry, which I've talked about a lot, and I'm planning to review it hopefully sometime eventually and get canceled. That's definitely on my agenda. Because this was an amazing book, literally my favorite book that I've read so far this year. I've talked about it quite a bit already, so I'll just leave it at that, really. And if you're interested, check out my review or check out my tag video for the quarter year crisis book tag. I talked about it in there as well. But yeah. What I really love about this book is really that she has compiled so many sources, and she is so... what's the word? Where you're like, it's like intellectual about it. That's not the right word though. I don't know. Anyways, she's compiled a lot of sources to make her points in this book. And it's really some of the side points that I feel like she is wrong about. Whereas the main thrust of the book, I feel like she is correct about. And she has so many sources to kind of back up her thoughts. So yeah, it's really good and I would highly recommend it. And I think it could really be like a world-changing kind of book, world perspective-changing kind of book. Like it could change your worldview, particularly for young females who haven't been taught really all the differences between men and women, because there are some differences that are important, especially if you are entering the sexual marketplace. It's very important to know certain things, like the fact that men are stronger than women on average. There are outliers, but like the statistics are very strong, especially if you look at sports. Men are stronger than women. And so if you're going out and having casual sex with people that you've just met that night, you are at high risk of being raped because you don't know this dude. So stuff like that young women might not know about because of what they've been kind of taught just generally in our culture today. So anyways, fascinating stuff. Sad, but definitely not pointless. It's really, really good reading, interesting reading, important reading. So, next, I also finished Monster, Volume 1 by Naoki Urasawa, and this is so good. This is a mystery following a surgeon who gets caught up in the midst of a bunch of some serial murders that's happening, and they're happening because of someone that he operated on is actually committing the murders. So the fact that he saved this person, he feels kind of directly responsible that people are getting murdered by this person now. And yeah, I read this with Kelly Ann Mitchell and it was so good. And I heard about it from her and it was so good. So I'm really excited to continue on that series with her. We're going to read Volume 2. I've got it right here and can't wait to get started next month. We also have been reading Paul, the biography by N.T. Wright. And that one, unfortunately, I'm not doing so well on. I need to get back to her about that. I'm considering DNFing, but I did get it on audiobook, so maybe I'll read some more on audiobook. But I also have The Pioneers by David Ball. Ooh, oh, yikes. Hopefully that didn't move you too much. No, that's not the right one. Sorry. I've got my pile of books here. The Pioneers by David McCullough. And this is one that I was supposed to be buddy reading with Tiffany, but I got it on audiobook and realized I'm not going to be able to follow this without the physical book. So I need to actually start physically reading it. She's already halfway through it, so she's already way ahead of me. So, and I also finished Oh Pioneers by Willa Cather, and this was for Tiffany's Patreon book club, and it was really good. It made me so emotional. I think I would probably give it like 4 stars if I'm giving it star ratings. Maybe like 83% maybe. It was really good. I really loved it. And I loved some quotes that were in there. There was one that says, "Freedom so often means that one isn't needed anywhere," which I think is so true. a lot of times the ties that bind, so to speak, are they are what make life meaningful. The ties that you have with people. It means that you are less free, but it also means that your life is very enriched and you are enriching the lives of others, which is really where it's at. That's where you find your happiness, is when you're able to enrich the lives of lots of other people. You can be really happy about your own existence. So yeah, I really enjoyed that. And I also finished, finally, Spy Family Volume 1. I don't know why this took me so long to finish, because it was really good too. I really enjoyed this. Definitely want to read more. Tiffany's like several volumes into this and she's really still loving it, so that gives me hope that I will really like it. I think I just have too many manga series on the go at the moment, so eventually I will get back to that. And so some of the other podcasts that I've been listening to for Korean are Breathe in Korean, which is I think she's a Korean American, but I could be wrong. Regardless, she came to an English-speaking country. I'm pretty sure it was America, because I think she talks about New York. And speaks English very well, very fluently, but she missed hearing Korean and reading in Korean, and found that when she went to a library and there was a Korean section, she picked up some of the Korean books and found that she could read them much more easily and really enjoyed them. And so she pulls quotes from the books and talks about them on her podcast. And most of the podcast is in English, but the quotes are in Korean because they're from the Korean language books that she's been reading. And so really excited that's more of like an advanced podcast because the Korean is very advanced. So I'll have to keep working in order to understand her. And then Sponge Mind is good. It's not exactly easy, like beginner Korean, but he does speak slowly and enunciates very clearly. And he's often talking about interesting things and language learning. And the thing that makes SpongeMind so special is he will send you his transcripts. If you just email him, he will actually send you all of his free transcripts for his videos, for his podcast, for like everything, which is so generous. Like nobody does that. Everybody makes you pay for transcripts except for Johnson at SpongeMind. So really grateful to him. And Iyagi is like an intermediate level podcast of Korean listening. And that's the one that I first started with. Like when I was a beginner and I was trying to listen, I was so overwhelmed that I was like, there's no point in even listening to this. I'm not understanding it. Because it's definitely intermediate level, but I'm definitely getting to the point where I'm understanding more of it, and I just need to keep listening and I'll get better. And one that I've just discovered is called Hangugeo Con Angduck, and so Hangugeo is Korean language, and she romanizes it so you can read it, and then Con Angduck. And Angduck, I'm picking up from one of her podcasts that it means angry duck, and I think it's a nickname that her mom gave her. That I think I understood that from the podcast, but I'm still really needing to work on that because I can't understand it super well yet, but working on that. And so for the rest of my May TBR, I'm in the middle of lots of things, and I just haven't finished a lot of them yet. So we have Easy Korean Reading for Beginners, and I am over halfway in this. I'm hoping I'll finish that up this month, but it's who even knows, because once I enter Bangtan Academy, I'm going to have homework like 5 to 6 hours a week, it's supposed to be, which for me will probably be more like 10 because I just tend to be really slow. And I am almost halfway through Canticle for Leibowitz, and I'm really enjoying it. The last 2 chapters have been a bit rough for me, focus-wise. Yeah, we'll see if I can do that. I also just picked up Nothing to Envy by Barbara Dimick. I'm so excited to read this. This is another, I think it was a National Book Award finalist. It says right here. And I'm going to be buddy reading this with Michi from Heart of Michi and Michi Reviews. And really excited. It's, I think it's examining the lives of 5 North Koreans. Yeah, I can't wait to dig into this. I also did start Moby Dick, and how far did I get? I got to chapter 15, and I'm enjoying it, but I haven't touched it in like 2 weeks. So, yeah, there's a thing. I still have The Idiot by Elif Batuman here. I don't know if I'll get to that either, but I've got it just in case. And A Kestrel for a Knave by Barry Hines. This is my short classics for charity book club pick for May. And it's a book club partnership with Kate Howe's Patreon. And I really actually started it, and I'm like, I think 20% in, and the writing is very like, the writing is so expressive. Like it's almost like poetry, the way he expresses images. It's more like intuitive, it seems like, than intellectual almost. Yeah, it's really unique. It's very unique writing, and I am enjoying it. And I think the subject matter isn't grabbing me maybe as much. It feels almost like memoir, but it's just not a memoir that I'm like, let's be real, it's not Korean. But I think it's going to be really good. I think so. I don't know why this is, but I'm having trouble focusing on like English classics lately. But in general, probably most classics I think I'm having trouble with lately. But yeah, English classics in particular, I just am really struggling to focus on. Not because there's anything wrong, but I think I need like I don't know. My interests have changed recently, so that's all. Okay. I also started going through the Greek of the Book of John, and I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, I'm going to learn Greek. I'm not. I'm probably just going to go through the Greek a couple times a week of different Bible passages. And because it's been a lifelong dream of mine to be able to actually read the Bible in Greek and understand it in Greek. And ever since I discovered Steve Kaufman's method, I've kind of thought about it, and I was like, really all I want to do with Greek is I want to be able to read it on the page. I don't need to speak it. I don't need to hear it and listen to it spoken. I just need to learn it on the page, and that's a lot easier than learning to speak and to be able to come up with sentences on your own and create sentences and hear and listen. If you don't have to develop those things, I think you can go maybe faster. And I don't know if I can pick up the grammar without having any grammar books. So I might have to buy a grammar book at some point, but I'm just going to start out just going through a few verses a week in Greek, and we'll see what happens. And if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. I'm not making any giant goals at the moment. Game of Thrones I'm listening to. Obsessed. I'm like 85% of the way through that. And Paul, like I talked about, easy Korean reading for beginners. I already showed you that. Yeah, okay, wow. Okay, that was all of it. Cool. We finished finally. It's a long video. Thank you for watching. Thanks for hanging around. And let me know down below what you are reading this month, what you loved last month. And I'll talk to you soon. Bye.